We're into session 4 of the 2018 budget. Welcome, everyone. First one up is the county executive. Deputy County Executive Phil Calderon is with us this evening. Thank you, Deputy County Executive, for coming.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
If you'd like to just open up and make a statement.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, again for the courtesy of inviting us to come here to talk about either the County Executive's Department or the budget overall. I'm also joined by our budget director, and I want to thank him for the excellent work that he did in putting this budget together. And thank you, Mr. Chairman, and the members of the committee and the legislature as a whole for the courtesies that you've shown to the departments who have come here thus far, and that I know you will continue to extend to the departments yet to be reviewed by this committee. We think when we put this budget together, the county executive's goal is always to try to either increase or maintain services, the important mission of county government, while at the same time holding the line on expenses, so as not to overburden taxpayers and be fiscally prudent and responsible. We hope that you would agree that in this proposed budget, we've met those objectives. And I'd be happy now to answer any questions you might have specifically, again, on our department or the budget generally.
Thank you. What we'll do is, as far as questionings, like we've always done, just a reminder, members of the committee will be called on first, and then the rest of the members of the legislature will be called on. So with that, are there any questions for the Deputy County Executive? Mr. Grimm.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to speak to the budget in general, if I could.
Absolutely.
There's a pretty substantial increase, $26.2 million, and I've been breaking it down, and I have a few questions regarding that $26 million. $10.7 million is itemized as other, and I'd like a more specific delineation of what other is.
I think that's something that we could definitely break down for you. A good memo charting that 10.7 that you say. The other 16 you have a good handle on?
Yeah, the personnel is basically salaries.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
Is that
2% for non-union and then the negotiated.
Although when we say 2% raises, and this comes all the time in the media, it's really not 2% raises. There are a number of employees who get longevity pay and other forms of pay, so the actual increase is beyond 2%.
2% for non-union members is 2%, and for union members, that's part of negotiated contracts.
Because I read the increase is, the overall, 5.8 million is a 4% increase over the previous year. So is that really an accurate description of what the salary is?
2% on your salary, then you will also have your fringe associated benefit costs that go along with that too.
But that's a different line item, though.
Oh, with the retirement and all of that?
Well, yeah, health insurance is an additional 1.2 million.
So we'll let Sean give you a complete breakdown, so we don't, give you anything.
So it's categorized and
general tonight, but more specific.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Thank you for coming tonight.
My pleasure. Again, thank you all.
Enjoy your evening. Next up, management and budget. Page 138.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Sean,
How we doing tonight?
good, how are you?
Not bad, not bad.
Good.
I'll keep it pretty quick here. We did the revenue already, so, management budget has a good portion of the revenue factor. We also handle the finance department here, who actually does most of your collections. We have a few vacancies that we're looking to fill. Other than that, everybody has a 2% raise, nothing out of the ordinary. Management budget itself, we have one vacant position we're looking to fill, hopefully by the end of the year. We have real property, currently no vacancies, full staff there, and everyone 2% COLA increase. Information technologies. Not to speak for you, Perry, but there's 2 vacancies we're looking to fill there. Finance was first. And if we have any questions, I would
Sean, now we also usually with the management budget, go over the contingency, community college tuition, CDTA and a risk.
No, I think Eugenia's here for Rick. Yes, isn't she?
I did ask
You guys
some
got that all
other
split
colleagues
up,
to be here
Regina?
that could also speak much better to it for contingency and, risk
Okay.
retention and all that. If there are any questions to come
Okay.
down that line.
Okay, are there any questions, management budget? Mr. Miller?
On page 147, line 44071, property repair and mineral. 2016, we had 825,000 spent, and the budget for 2017 dropped 150, now it's back up to 400. Can you elaborate a little bit what's going on there?
All right, so we usually had two different lines for shoring up properties that we're storing for transfer to land bank or whatever. We had a very big year in 2016, getting properties together for that transfer. We found that it probably would be better, since window and the assorted roof repair did not come up as often as just general property repair, that if we could put it all in one line, that would be able for us to encompass all the issues with that line, and easier for management of that line.
Okay, but so we went from 825,000 down to 150. I understand-
16 was an anomalous year.
Okay.
I can give you where we currently are, if that would, for 17.
Okay, well,
Our current total
we have
usage.
Properties we had to fix up in 2016.
So is this the money that we're investing before we transfer the properties to the land bank?
This would have a good portion of that in there, yes.
Okay, so really you're taking 300,000.
Mr. Clay,
and bringing
I'm
it
sorry.
up to the other line.
Yes, yes.
Mr. Clay?
The budget show an increase in the sale tax revenue despite the decline this year. How do you figure that out? What
Well-
is that based on, I suppose, is the question.
So we look at many factors. Most notably, we look over year-over-year trends. And also, we like to gauge, our locality as a whole and the state as a whole. Every other locality around us, every other county around us had significant increases, some as high as 5-7% throughout the year. We had an anomalous downturn for the second quarter, about 2.7%. We bounced back a little with a good moderate increase for the third quarter here. We take that, we do a metric for our forecasting. We go against state average. The state average so far, I believe, was 3.2, 3.4% for the whole year. And then we were a little bit conservative on that, down to the 2%. So,
The other question, Mr. Chairman, I have for him,
Yes, sir.
how do you remember all those numbers?
a little practice, because I know I gotta have some of the questions, I gotta be able to answer some of them.
Mr. Bullock, did you have a question?
Yeah, can I ask how many properties do you have right now and how many are going into the land bank? And, what, is the trend coming up or down?
We're trying to transfer them we're trying to get ahead of the game here, to get on a good cycle and keep it to a minimum amount of time that we have 'em. I can get you definitive numbers. I don't want to shoot from the hip.
I would like that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So you'd like what we currently hold and what we've transferred?
And what you transferred over the year. I would appreciate that.
I'd like that too.
Of course. We'll get it to both parties. We'll get it to both councils.
And Sean, real quick too on that, if you can let them know what year that we're actually foreclosing on, because I believe that we're foreclosing on the 2012s.
11s or 12s, somewhere in
11s or
there.
12s.
Yeah.
And
12s
per
in
our
different
policy with the county, we're supposed to be on a 3-year.
We have been trying to make significant strides to get to there. I'm telling you, it's been more of a challenge than I would have expected on this last year that I've been here, and hope to make it a priority.
Mr. Miller?
I know we're going to be with the county executive on the new one out there. Is it possible to get a complete copy of the appraisal for hockey facility prior to that?
Sure.
A little bit more background on where we're at.
Mr. Higgins?
Yeah, I want to echo what Ralph said. I'm very concerned about the backlog of properties that the county sees that we're sitting on as we move into the winter months, you know, especially
definitely.
with some of the
It-
demo fees. I noticed that the building inspector position is vacant. You know, I have some concerns about funding of this department to begin with. Is there a plan to fund that on the backlog on the foreclosures? You know, if you can get the numbers, that'd be good.
Yeah, definitely. I'm telling you that, when I say we're trying, we are trying. Last year, we added 3 laborers and a foreclosing building specialist to this 3650 department within hopes to do this. And this year's gone relatively smooth. It's a learning process. We're starting with a new plan, procedure here to get to that point. And it's been a little bit more challenging than I thought it was going to, and I'm hoping to take it a little bit more smooth the next year.
Is there a plan to fill that position?
Oh, right.
Lucy?
Yes.
You have a question?
We advertise, we posted, it's not something we're just sitting.
And as Sean said, in the 3650, working with the legislature last year, we added a foreclosed building specialist as well as 3 laborers. That's fully staffed. Those guys are going out every day, so.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to put your attention on page 148, the strategic economic development. Actually compared to economic development and all on 148, it's a decreased line for the contractual expenses. Could you explain to those, the drop off for the contractual expenses?
That is an encumbrance from years past. I could get you exactly what that is for.
It was economic development.
It's
Yeah.
P, line item A, 6422, and then 44999. What happens to that $1 million?
It's been a carryover. I would see it was in last year's, and I believe that it would continue to do that.
Carry on. Prior year.
No, it's in a line, he's got a line item.
No, he doesn't. There's nothing this year.
What line item is that, that the $1 million in?
Top of the page at
148, it's the 44999.
I think it's easier to say.
148?
All these numbers, yeah, just the top of the page. I think we should all do that. Remember, 996.458.
It's zeroed out.
Yes.
Yes,
So where
it's
is,
a continual as an encumbrance.
oh, you're just,
For the adjusted, you see that?
yeah,
That's from previous
it's
years
still there,
too.
but how come you didn't put it over the
It
proposed?
doesn't go in, it continues as itself, as a unit.
So the money.
Yeah, that money will roll over. We're not asking to appropriate any additional money to add on top of it.
We're not,
They can't put it
that's
in the
much
budget, though.
better explained.
The county share, will we share this with the state or the federal government? What is it? Does the county share?
That's the appropriation was
Okay.
1.1.
No, this.
So all of the encumbrances will take place in February, is that correct? Or is it finalized in March? When is it, when are all the encumbrances recognized?
It's available as you speak here.
As we speak, but when do they actually encumber the money to put it in?
I
That's not
I
till
believe it's end of March,
end of March. Okay, so at the end of the first quarter.
and then it goes, and then you'd see it again if it continued as that encumbrance.
Are there any, Mr. Kraus?
Mr. Chairman, Sean, same page,
Yes, sir.
a little further down, payments and debt service.
Yes, sir.
Explain the changes, obviously you're paying less in debt service.
Yep, that is the transfer of the hotel motel tax. As you can see, the adjusted's 5.8 million. The transfer to debt service, which in the aid fund acts as an expense, goes to the debt service refund.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Contingency, you're gonna handle? Sure. Any questions on the contingency account? Okay. Community college, you're gonna handle? Any questions on the community college? Mr. Miller?
Yeah, I noticed in the budget, we talked about negotiating with the rest of the county on this. We had, I noticed there's a little bit of progress, and we need to report back on where we might be as far as getting, net overall amount we're being charged as compared to the rest of the county.
Well, as you can see for trends here, I don't think it's finalized for the upcoming, but as we can see for trends here, that we are paying less of a share compare a little bit less, and their share has gone up a little bit more. We would hope to get and work to get a even more equitable share. And that's what we will work at towards the future, but you know how that's set, it's, they petition the state, so.
Mr. Higgins?
Now that the experiment with hosting Schenectady here, in full tilt, have we noticed the number shifting on the amount of enrollees that are staying in the county versus still opting to cross over into Rensselaer to go to HVCC? That was part of the plan, right?
From what I understand.
Facility to save money on the chargeback.
From what I understand, enrollment has been down for community colleges across the board in the area. Whether a direct line of just the economy or whatnot. I could take a look into that for you to see if there's any correlation that we can grab from that, to see.
I thought it was a great idea to host Schenectady here in the county to try to, save money. I thought that was a great benefit. I'm
Oh, it's
interested to know
definitely
if
a
we're
great
realizing any savings as a result.
I wish we could offer more, that we're under their umbrella of
Sure.
what you can offer. They like to pull rank on this, so to
Sure.
speak.
Mr. Grimm?
Just to be clear on that, Sean, we're losing money when they go to Hudson Valley because we got to reimburse for every resident that goes over there. Yet they get to set the rules about what courses we can teach. Is that true?
They can, there's SUNY regulations of like what can be offered within a certain distance of another entity, so to
Right, so
speak.
we're trying to be more competitive for obvious reasons.
Yes.
Yet we're under SUNY rules not to offer things that people may very well like. That's why they're going across the river in the first place.
Yes.
Wow. That's not good.
We don't have our own community college.
Any questions? Any other questions? CDTA? Any questions?
Can I ask a question?
Oh, yes. Ms. Cunningham, sorry, I didn't hear you there.
Can you give me an idea how many students we're talking about for each of the HBCC and Schenectady? How many?
Well, it changes every semester as well as every year because it's by municipality and who enrolls and who doesn't enroll.
Okay, but we must have some idea of the number.
Can work on something.
Yeah.
Get that to Pat.
The last couple of years,
Pat,
maybe,
we'll get it out.
couple of years worth.
Yeah, I'm just curious.
Yep.
And how many are using this facility to break that, ask them to break out how many are using this building?
Break out how many are using
Yes.
SCC Albany in this building.
Yeah.
All right? And CDTA, any questions on CDTA? $1 million in there?
Same as last year.
Questions, same as last year, the year before and the year
What's it
before
based
that? Pretty much stays steady.
Pretty consistent.
All right. Risk retention. Any request, any
If they get
questions?
really hard, I have help.
Okay. Any questions? $269. So all these consulting fees and everything that we have in fees for services, I assume is offsetting monies available to cover all these fees for services, right? 'Cause we don't really get a breakdown. I hope.
So the consultant fees are utilized by the law department and HR. The law department uses it to pay our claims administrators. Every time we have a claim, whether it be a lawsuit or a car accident, we have to report it to a claim administrator because we're self-insured. Just like you have a car accident, you have an insurance company who handles the claim for you. Well, we're self-insured, but we still have to have a claim administrator handle the claim for us. We pay a claim administrator who handles the claim for us. We pay the claim administrator out of the consultant fees. We have a contract with the claim administrator. Vera Claim is our claim administrator. Gallagher Bassett was our prior claim administrator. They're handling old claims for us still. We pay them out of that line. Every time there's a claim reported, they're paid out of that line. We have contracts with them to do that. That's what the law department uses that line for. Human Resources uses that line for similar, their third-party administrator, similar for workers' comp. They have a TPA, third-party administrator, to report their claims. Whenever we have a workers' comp claim, reported to the county, and it's reported to the excess carrier. We have a TPA, it's now POMCO, who works for the county by contract. Their fees are paid out of that line.
Any other questions? Mr. Miller?
On page 269, line 44047, the consultant fees that you were just talking about, there's a drop from 240,000 down to 225. Is that going to be sufficient to cover the administration of the funds?
I think it is. When we look, you want me? Yeah. So, yes, when we looked at it earlier this year, we were going at the same current rate that we were headed for the 225 mark for this next year coming up. If that answers your question?
As long as Regina's here, then you're going to talk about the insurance. We have administration, insurance, judgment and claims insurance, reserves. Any questions, any of that for anyone? No? Okay. Workman's comp, any questions on workman's compensation? From anyone? No? Okay. And I think that's it for you guys.
Workers' comp, real quick. That contract is for how long?
Every year, it's marketed. The broker markets it, goes out to market, it renews in January. Last year, we actually changed carriers, which was a substantial move, because there's a lot you have to do to change the excess comp, and we were able to change it to a new carrier, increase coverage, and drop premiums substantially. So it will, again, there's very few excess carriers who can carry our market, who do municipalities, who are A-rated, that we will do our coverage with. Safety National was the carrier. Forgive me, I don't know who the current carrier is that we just went with. I don't remember the name. But we'll get price quotes again. And if we have to move it again, we will move it again. But we go for the best price with the best coverage. It's very expensive to insure a jail, to insure a sheriff's department, for workers' comp, to insure a nursing home. Those are very high markets to insure. We have a lot of high losses over the years. So we try to keep those.
If there's a change, that'll be something that we'll see in January, February of next year?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Sean. Thank you. Sean, you've been doing an outstanding job, by the way.
Thank you, sir.
Next up will be the coroner. Is Tim here? Kevin R., coroner. Page 207. Any questions for Tim? Tim, you have any statements?
Happy to answer any questions pertaining to our budget in the coroner's office.
Do you have any questions, Mr. Higgins?
Tim, just let me wrap my head around this.
Go ahead,
If
Chris.
somebody dies in another county and they come to Albany, or they're in Albany, we have to pay for them, right?
Yes.
How much is that?
For an autopsy, $860 and about $800 for the hospital. So it's cost us about $1,600.
Do we ever get it back?
No,
Does that happen a lot?
quite a bit, yeah. Quite a bit.
Is that just a-
Probably over a third of our cases.
Because they want to come to Albany Med.
Yeah, Albany Med, there's Albany Med.
The county executive was supposed to have met with them a few months back. I don't know.
Yeah, Albany Med said we're getting a deal, so
I don't know how that meeting went. I don't think it went as well.
I don't think
as
it
we'd
went
like
well.
that.
Deals on
it
death
didn't go
row.
well.
But Chris, I've been asking that question and fighting that battle for 15 years with Albany Med. And it's,
Doing a portion of Ellis.
Ellis.
It's 55 here.
It's 55.
We're contacting them. While we make flags and anything.
Is this been going on, working out with the 6-month program, is it with Ellis over in Troy?
It's working well.
Is it working
Yeah,
well?
Ellis is on this week. We haven't had one problem with it. And Lucy, like I said, it's not because we wanted to go to Ellis, we have to go to where the doctor is. So this doctor we needed works out of Ellis. It's worked well.
Are there any other questions? Mr. Joyce?
Just back to that, I know we're a trauma center at Albany Med. How many of those out-of-county people come in?
Quite a few,
Do we have a rough count, annual count?
probably half of our autopsies, so we probably do 100 cases a year that come from outside the county.
At $800.
I had a gentleman over the weekend, he fell up in the woods up in Saratoga County, he had a head injury, he died at Albany Med.
About 100 out-of-county.
Probably 100 autopsies out of county.
Allison?
Just because Joe O'Brien brought this to Bill Stack's office, just so everybody knows.
That's right.
They're carrying legislation regarding billing back to other counties on this. Needless to say, counties that don't have a Region 1, where
Trauma
Trauma
center
Right.
don't want to do this.
We're
because
very
they
fortunate to
understand
have
that they
Albany
will
Med,
be, paying for it, so.
On the downfall, that's what
unfortunately,
happens.
However, it is being carried, I'm very supportive of it. I hope that's helpful. It certainly has been a significant cost, well over $100,000, I think, a year.
Yes.
Chairman Ward?
Mr. Kavanaugh, I know that we require training of our coroners.
That's correct.
For years, but there's a new state law that's been passed that requires training. Do you anticipate any additional cost for training?
I don't believe it's going to be any additional cost, Mr. Chairman. The county was the first to impose that, to have necessary training for new coroners and continuing education for the coroners that are serving now. You guys passed that a couple years ago. The state just followed suit, requiring a mandate to have training for all newly elected coroners throughout the state. So they offer programs twice a year. The State Association of Coroners and Medical Examiners, usually in April and September, and at least 2 or 3 of us go each time. So now it's law, state law and county.
Mr. Kraus?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Where does that training take place?
Syracuse, but it was Syracuse in the spring and fall this year. I went to both conferences. Next year it's in Syracuse, but it bounces around. Sometimes it's in Buffalo, it's been in Niagara Falls, it's been in Saratoga. Actually, we've had it here in Albany, it's been a while, probably 15 years ago.
Is it conducted at the medical centers there?
No, it's conducted probably at one of the hotels where they can have a conference room and offer rooms to, out-of-town guests, so.
6 feet under.
Are there any other questions? Thank you, Ms. Kavanaugh.
Thank you.
Next up will be Recreation, page 173. Mr. D'Antonio?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to just start off by saying that we've had a lot of success in our first year here as a department. We currently have served over 3,000 kids this past year. Our programs include karate, flag football, lacrosse, learn to skate, learn to play hockey, basketball, and this year we added track and field and baseball. Again, we have had a lot of success. We have received a tremendous amount of phone calls and emails from parents all over the county thanking us for the programs that we have started here. Our intention is to continue to grow with this department. Each year, we like to add new programs throughout the county, and it's our intention to try to find new sites as we continue to grow.
And when you're getting all those accolades for that program, I'm hoping you're mentioning the county legislator who supported it and made it came to fruition.
Absolutely.
Mr. Clay?
John, why is it that Albany doesn't have that? Why aren't you?
That's a great question. As we grow, like I indicated, we're trying to look at newer sites throughout the county. But this has been a question that has come up a lot in this past year. I've heard it from council members, from county legislators, and I think that that's a question that obviously has to be discussed amongst the legislature, the common council, the county executive, the sheriff, and the mayor. But there have been a lot of people that have brought that question up.
Well, it seems to me it's not that there's not a need and some of these suburban areas, but it seems to me Albany would be in the center of such a program. For the life of me, I don't understand why, but.
No, I know,
Okay.
and I just recently, County Legislator Ray Joyce just sent me an email about 2 weeks ago indicating the same thing, that he has a constituent, I think, that has approached him and asked him the same question. So it's obviously been discussed.
Okay.
Mr. Joyce?
Thanks, John.
You got it.
Bill beat me to it. Do we negotiate, obviously these programs are in municipalities outside the city of Albany. Do we coordinate with those municipalities? Is there any, or do we just implement those programs? I mean, is there what's preventing us from doing this in the city of Albany?
Well, great question. I think our intention was, when we first started this program, was to look at some of the sites outside the city. And we've accomplished that. We got a tremendous program in Cohoes. Obviously, the mayor over there has really worked with us. Ravenna, Green Island. And I know that, obviously we've started in Colony, but I know that as we grow, this is going to be a question that comes up. And I know the city of Albany has obviously been one of those locations, because like I've indicated, it's not just some of the county legislators, but some of the common council members have also asked me when I've seen them, do you guys plan on, implementing some of these programs in the city? And, I told them, obviously, I'm sure that will be our intention, but that's a question that, obviously has to be discussed between the legislature, the council, the county executive, and the mayor of the city of Albany.
Mr. Miller?
On page 175, line 4449, youth recreation programming, you've indicated you're expanding the program, however, this line decreased from 165 to 155, $10,000 decrease. Which one was going there?
So this is for programming that's outside of the youth recreation here. This might be a contractual expense. I didn't say programming, I meant contractual expense. That they might need to do that's outside of youth programming, excuse me. Sometimes you have like certain things that come up that you have that John needs here that doesn't fall underneath that youth programming, so he might,
Can you be more explicit?
Okay, I'll give you a breakdown.
You didn't tell me anything.
So, you have a problem when you have to pay for something that is not youth program related, like if you had to pay for let's say there was a transportation or there was like a rental of something that is not like programmatic, you know what I mean? This is not for like a lacrosse, commitment or program, or basketball or something of that. This would be as
So if it's not for programming, and say if it's for that
sometimes you have
transportation.
rental fees like you had to rent.
Well, the rental fees have been coming to us to wind up approving, but if there's a transportation cost, I mean, if we're doing a program for the kids, then why, and if it's $10,000 less, then why don't we put in the line for $10,000 for
If we want to put it right into the programming there, then that's fine.
Are you using this money now for, and I'll pick on Voorhees, to pay them the $100 for to open up the place? Is that where this money's gonna be used for?
Well, something like that would be a contractual expense that isn't related to the direct programming.
Then why don't they put a fees for service or the transportation or some sort of line, but to remove money from the county budget for children, I think is,
It's not, we're not removing it, which is a classification. If you put it all into the youth recreation, it's 180, it's actually more.
Yeah, but you put it in, you got $25,000 in miscellaneous contractual expenses also. That's all new money. So you got $35,000 out there in those two lines.
The expenditures are the exact same.
You get a breakdown on that?
Sure. We can get you that. Just the appropriations for that were the same, so we just wanted to match it up.
Well, this is new money. The 25 is new money, the 10's new money. So that's $35,000 of new money.
25?
Okay. Tens a decrease.
Decrease. Mr. Bergdorf, you're gonna get that to us, right, Sean?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Question for, I'm not sure if it's for John or Sean. I'm looking at the biggest number in your recreational programming detail, which is CDTA for $27,300. What does, specifically, how does that, where are we from?
That's for transportation for a summer youth program out to Lawson's Lake.
Can you explain to me how that works?
Well, to be quite,
What page are you looking at, Mr. Berger?
I'm looking at his memo.
Oh, okay.
I don't know where it is in the budget.
CDTA,
Yeah, it's on the third page of his memo, $27,000, $3,000 to,
Sean, where is that? It's not in your contractual expenses.
and it's anticipated for 2018 December.
I know, a bunch of people did.
It's the third page.
And it says 44449.
Oh, that's, makes sense.
if I may just continue on with that, this,
Well, oh.
I'm sorry.
I want an answer on that first.
Okay.
Where is it?
This is 44999.
So it's,
Because I don't see it in the budget.
Oh, 444.
that line is miscellaneous contractual expense, but it's only 25.
That's only 25.
That's in the youth recreation, yes.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
Sorry about that, Mr. Chair. I had the page backwards
That's
here.
all right. Yeah, but that's not budget.
See, I'm not so good with the numbers.
Throwing numbers out there all night, I think he's gonna make a mistake. I think he's doing a good job.
And that's 25.
Yeah.
He said this line wasn't related to the program.
Oh, 4.
Just a couple of minutes ago.
So Sean, why don't we do this so we can keep going? We think it might be your miscellaneous contractual expenses, Mr. Bergdorf. But that says 25,000, yours is 27,000 for the CTA. If that's the case, then that wipes out that whole 25 and all these other things we're talking about aren't funded.
I think I figured it out here. If you go on to the next page here, that's the 164,000, which is the total number I was asking about before there. So you can see last year's and this year, so that 27,000 is including that 164.
What line, what's the item?
Yeah, we're operating off of his memo, we're not operating.
I'm looking at the budget, Paul.
I know, but that's, I'm saying.
This should be up here.
Yeah, and where in the budget is it?
It's that 160, that line I was asking.
The same page?
Okay,
The 100, okay. That's, so that, you're saying it's in programming,
Can I speak to that,
Yes.
it's
Mr.
programming.
yeah.
Chairman?
Can I speak to that, please?
So you're saying the CDTA money's in programming,
Yes, yes. It is a portion in programming. It's not a new program. It was previously
but it's not a
paid for.
program, really, you're just taking kids back.
Well, it's a
and
cost
forth.
of the programming to put specific programs on. I believe it's mostly the Boys and Girls Club, but it's a few different programs. Previously, this was paid for through Children, Youth, and Families before the creation of the Recreation Department. I believe it's been going on probably 4 years now, if I had to wager a guess.
All right, can we do this? Can you get to Pat the breakdown of the 155,000 for youth recreation programming? And the breakdown of your 25,000 in miscellaneous contractual, and that should answer everybody's question. Go ahead,
I'm less
Mr. Bergdorf.
concerned about how the money adds up. I'm trying to understand when we spend either $25,000 or $27,300, who is it for and from where to where? And how many kids are involved? Because it's the biggest number in the expenditures. And is it from one location just here, or is it from the hill towns? I'm trying to figure out.
No, it's a great question, and let me try to get you more specifics on that, because to be quite honest with you, I've been dealing with the programming part of our department, like I've indicated earlier. This obviously falls under Lawson's Lake, which I know falls under our department, but I don't directly deal with that summer program. I will get you specific as far as where the kids are being transported from. I think this is where you're going. And obviously, what the program entails, the length of the program. So I can get you those specifics. I can't answer you that right now, I'll be quite honest with you.
Mr. Kraus?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In your memo also, Commissioner, under the vendor section, you list a number of different organizations that are providing services at the hockey facility. If the proposal goes forward, the sale of the hockey facility, how will these vendors be impacted? And do they have contracts that carry over? And the airport control of that? Will any of this change, or are they all set?
Well, to be quite honest with you, I obviously last week just heard of this, as I'm sure obviously everybody else, so we really haven't, indulged into that yet. I'm just getting quite familiar with it myself, and obviously having discussions with the county exec's office and with the hockey rink.
So that's still in the air?
These would continue for at least like the next 5 to 10 years, so, and whatever we decide to do thereafter.
Okay, so there would be no impact?
No impact.
Thank you.
Mr. Signorachi?
Was just, my question was just asked.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Miller?
On this breakdown of the youth recreation programming, on the last page, you have $19,000 for copying. Did you print this in information on that?
That was my question. It's in there twice, too.
Very detailed, Did you say copying?
Yeah, it goes from 805 to 1904.
Copying is bigger than food.
Goes from 1,200 to
Do you have to do
2,000.
AAU cards?
You have to do that.
Well, it's not Johnny, I think it's what they did from the budget.
I'd like to check to make sure what exactly that's for. I think it's for making, for printing up cards.
Printing up cards, I would have to say, for the AAU membership cards.
McLean? Allison?
I didn't know if it was helpful at all. My children actually participated in the Lawson's Lake Camp this summer, which I have to commend Albany County and the county executive and everybody who put together that program. It's a wonderful program. And the transportation that's provided, they do go through CDTA. They have 2 buses. There's the bus for the older children that are, I think they're 12 and older, somewhere around there. And then they have the younger children. My children were on that other bus. And they transport them daily back and forth to Lawson's Lake. They also transport them to various other trips that they take as well. I don't know if that is the entirety of that cost, but I do know that it's probably quite a bit of a portion. It's 8 to 10 week program. So
Yeah,
it's long, and it is it's about a half-hour ride out there.
The bus goes to Bonanza and picks them up in...
No, they pick them, I'm sorry, I wasn't clear. I apologize. It picks them up, we have to transport them to the Boys and Girls Club on Delaware Avenue.
Okay.
And then they are picked up there, they're transported to Lawson's Lake, and transported back, and they're also transported on days that they take other trips to St. Thatcher Park, et cetera.
So the focal point is Boys and Girls Club?
Yes.
Delaware.
Yes.
Mr. Higgins, then Mr. Bergeron?
I'm trying to wrap my head around this. Our county program, we don't charge any fees.
Wait a minute.
I'm sorry, go ahead, I'm sorry.
We don't charge any fees for families that want to send their kids to any of our programs.
No fees are associated with
Okay.
any of the programs.
Correct me if I'm wrong, maybe you can't speak to this, but the City of Albany's summer youth programs, they do.
Yes, they implemented that 2 years ago.
Our county program doesn't cover children in the City of Albany. Is that correct?
As of right now, yes, that's correct.
But they meet in Albany.
So, I mean,
Our kids in Albany sees the bus get filled at Delaware Avenue and goes out to Lawson Lake and nobody gets on it.
Well,
Not right.
it amazes me that children in the City of Albany cannot partake in a free program for families of less means that are living in some of the highest poverty census tracts in the entire county. And that we can't send these kids to a county-paid program?
Well,
I mean, it sounds insane to me.
if a kid in the city of Albany wanted to participate in one of our programs, we would be open to obviously having those kids participate. The problem I think that you have is, for example, like, I'm just gonna use a site, let's just say Green Island, Mr. Chairman. Let's say Green Island. We run a lacrosse program. The majority of the kids that participate in that program are from Green Island. Now, if a kid wanted to come from Albany to Green Island, they could. But we don't have any existing programs in the city of Albany.
So I guess, I mean, I don't mean to belabor the point, but I'm just curious to know why that is. I mean, this is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. We're talking about consolidation and shared services. These are the only words I ever hear. I had a big presentation with the mayor a few weeks ago. Why are we not taking kids from the city?
Well, you know what we can do, Chris?
The city's broke.
We're all gonna meet with the mayor in a couple of months anyway, to talk about shared services.
I mean, this should
again,
be
so this would be something that we can bring up to move forward with. Mr. Bergdorf.
This is insane.
I want to echo that I don't understand what the policy is here, okay?
I don't either.
So anything that you have that can share with me, who pays? Who doesn't pay for the free camp? Who gets free, excuse me, I'm speaking with the commissioner, okay?
I apologize.
I'd like to know.
Absolutely.
Who chooses who goes? Where is the information?
Yeah.
Is it on a public website? How do people that I know and represent who are paying $500 a week for youth services, how do they participate in a free program that gets transported to Lawson Lake? And I'd like to know how that works.
Okay.
From a programmatic and selection and payment point of view, and whether or not, what the policy is for who pays.
I got you.
Thank you.
What I would like to do, Mr. Chairman, if it's okay, is I will get that information to the whole legislature.
Get it to Pat.
Get it to Pat.
Get it to our office.
Okay, will do.
Okay?
Yep.
Mr. Grimm.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think there's another way of looking at this. We talk a lot about shared services as the county grabbing things from the town that they can do. What about the reverse? Why don't we just, instead of growing a county agency, why don't we distribute the money to all the municipalities who have recreation departments to begin with, and they can use that money to charge or not charge depending on the whatever the municipality wants to do. I mean, that's another way of looking at this. When you get into the shared services, I think shared services works both ways. The assumption that bigger government does a better job is not something I necessarily agree with. The people closest to the municipalities understand the recreation programs and may be very well served by the money the county sends to them in a fair distribution, which means Gildan's got to get a piece of the action. But in a fair distribution, I think that may be a better way of serving kids.
Let me just say that, since we started this department, obviously, we've had a tremendous working relationship with Ravina, with Cohoes, I've indicated, with their elected officials. Their so-called, some of these locations really don't have rec departments. So obviously, they're very receptive to what we're doing in the county. I mean, when you look at a program that has started in 1 year, and we have 3,000 kids that we're serving right now, I think that speaks volumes.
None from the city of Albany.
Unfortunately.
Got anything from Gildan?
And listen, I'm not disagreeing with you. We've started this program, we've only been in existence for a year now. And as we started, I indicated that I knew that this was gonna be a growing concern. Because obviously, people are they represent their area, they're gonna want programs in their area. That's something moving forward, we as a governing body need to discuss. What's our plan? I know shared services has come up. Well, this is something that we need to look at. I mean, as we continue to grow, I think it's a discussion, how do we get there? Well, that's bigger than me. But I think, obviously, I'm open to listening to suggestions, but I think that's the legislature, the county executive, and I'm not just saying the city of Albany, but you brought up Guilderland. I would love to get into Guilderland. I think that's one of the things that are obviously on our radar. Same with Bethlehem. And eventually we'll get there. But in order to get there, to be quite honest with you, you talk about increasing programming, you're gonna have to increase the line item for programming. Because if I go now to Guilderland and create a program, that's gonna obviously indicate that we need additional monies in that programming line item.
Mr. Ward?
I just want to clarify something, Mr. D'Antonio. I think we're getting mixed up with where the sites are and who's participating. There are several kids from the city of Albany that participate in these programs. And I go to a lot of them myself. I know there was a football program, one in Green Island specifically, where there was one kid from Green Island, and the majority of them were from the city of Albany. So
There were some kids, yeah.
Kids from the city are participating, it's just that they aren't located in the city of Albany.
How did they find out about it?
Well, to be quite honest with you, Mr. Chairman, we do an aggressive approach as far as we send out flyers throughout all the schools.
Oh, okay.
We put it on our webpage. So we do an aggressive approach as far as getting the word out.
In Albany too?
Not in the Albany schools, no, we don't.
Mr. Kraus?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Following up on the other chairman's question, if a child who lives in the city of Albany wants to go to Lawson Lake, can he or she?
Yes.
And is there a charge?
No.
So, the kids from the city of Albany can participate if they can get to wherever they need to go to get the bus to whatever
Right.
program it is.
Well, that's the rub.
Well, that's the rub, it's getting there.
That's the
Accessibility.
rub.
But to say the city of Albany-
That's always gonna be a rub. I mean,
You know, let's, this could be, what department, where is he? Who's that? What committee is he
He
in?
represents Loudonville. He doesn't know what it's like to represent
What committee is he in? Show what committee is he under?
poor people.
No, what,
Public Works, will Public Works bring in, go over all these questions that everybody has to answer, and we can move on, just keeping it as a budget.
My point is the city
Yes.
let us come in and do these
Please.
programs in some of our parks and they say they won't.
So I just want to mention that my personal opinion, and I know we've talked about this a lot, is that there should be programs in the city of Albany. But like Mr. D'Antonio states, you have to have shared services when both sides agree to do something. And I know they're working on that now. But some of the communities where these programs are located are because the communities welcome them. And some of them are in their own facilities, like the hockey facility. If you go up there and watch their learn to skate, it's a phenomenal program, and there's hundreds of kids.
we got 500 kids in the Learn to Skate
All over the
program.
place. They're from every community that we serve. So, do we need to get into the city of Albany more? I'm pretty sure we all agree on that, and I'm sure that we can talk a lot more about that.
Thank you. Ms. Cunningham just had a question.
Just a quick question and a comment. In the adjunct material that you provided, there are some increases under the vendor section for the vendors that are providing some of these programs. It looks like some of them are pretty sizable increases, and I'm just wondering, are those increases like take the All-American Sports Recreation, which increases up to $40,000 for 5 6-week sessions in 2018? Are these, to me, increased demand, or, how were these determined? Those increases, is that because you had sizable numbers in the last calendar year and you want to increase the program?
Mr. Chairman, could you ask her to stand? He can't hear what she's...
Sure, I'd be happy to stand.
I think I got the gist
You
of your
got it?
question, yeah.
Okay, that's my question.
No, good.
My comment, though, is it would be very helpful to have a listing, and maybe at the Public Works Committee discussion, we can do this, of where all the programs are.
Absolutely.
Just so we have that.
And just to answer your question,
Yes.
that was because we took on an additional site this year for each program.
Okay.
That's why the increase in the monies.
Okay.
But I will put together a whole list of the programs and sites, a breakdown of everything.
Okay, so those additional sites contemplates that you're going to have additional kids that will be able to enroll in
Right.
this sport.
And as we grow, that's our intention, is to get additional sites.
And my final question is, I didn't see any theater or arts programs in here. Music, are they in there somewhere?
We have had a production out at Lawson Lake.
Okay.
We've had, I think, 2 productions this summer.
And is that the only,
That's the only, yeah.
because I would say there's a lot of emphasis on kind of the sports stuff, which is great, but there's a lot of kids that, you know, arts and crafts,
Right.
and music and theater and all that would be great if we can think about that for
Right.
future planning.
Good question, thank you.
Mr. Miller?
The insurance line you have in here, page 175, on 44037, is that different? Some kind of special insurance we have for a recreation program?
No, that's just the general, yeah.
Mr.
Can I
Bullock?
just touch on that for a second, if you don't mind, Mr. Chairman?
Please.
The insurance, obviously, as Sean indicated, but our partnership with the AAU, the agreement is that they pick up the insurance for all the kids.
Oh, I didn't.
So just to clarify that.
Very good.
if I may.
Mr. Bullock? Oh, I'm sorry.
I just want to, is there a way of getting a split of the people who are transporting from the Boys and Girls Club, whether those children are from the city of Albany or not?
Well, I think that goes back to what Paul was saying. That goes back to what, and that's what I will do, I will break that down.
Mr. Bullock?
In your workup, you mentioned the Hudson Health Rail Trail. What kind of programs you got on that rail trail, if any?
Well, obviously, we're looking at, you know, obviously, this has been our first year. We're looking at trying to create some type of programming. We're looking at different things as far as different 3K runs, walks, things of that nature. We've had some discussion with the Mohawk Land Conservancy people, and we are looking at ways of trying to increase some programs with the rail trail.
That would be good.
Yep.
For Albany kids.
And what we're looking at doing is next year to implement some fitness equipment along the rail trail.
Okay.
That's going to be one of the county executive obviously wanted to incorporate some of that.
Okay.
Mr. Joyce?
This might be a question for Sean. Rental of real property under revenue, $37,000 there. Is that the hockey facility or?
I believe that is the towers for the cell phone on the hockey facility.
So, or is a part of that proposal for the hockey facility include the land of the cell tower? Are we going to lose that rental income if we lose the facility?
I'd like to get back to you on that one. I don't believe so, but I didn't see the full agreement offhand. I do not know, but I can definitely get back to you.
Thanks.
Get back to Pat.
And if you can also send us a copy of those agreements with, for the cell phone towers, how far out they go, when they're up for renewal.
We can get that in the resolution.
They're all standard. I think it's 5 year. I thought it was 5. No, I think they're not 30. I think they're like 5. I'm sorry, Mr. Bergdorf, do you?
John, I'd like to put an asterisk on my request as well. When you give us the breakdown, I mean, I understand you wanting to get into municipalities to run events, and then obviously you promote them. But when you have destination events like Lost Lake and a camp, that's where people are going there. Is there any revenue derived from that that's in a revenue stream any place in this budget? Are there any fees charged?
Not that I'm familiar with. Not that I'm familiar with.
You pay weekly?
So now I'm hearing there's a sliding scale for Lost Lake. I mean, I don't know how we can run.
The Boys and Girls Club.
Excuse me, Ally, it's not about you.
I'm just trying to.
That's got to be a fee, excuse me. That has to be a fee that's associated with the Boys and Girls Club. That's not affiliated with the county, because I know we don't take any money for programs.
You're not showing any revenue.
Yeah,
So-
that has to be the Boys and Girls Club.
So we have a Boys and Girls Club that is running this and making money, and we're providing a free transportation and a venue to a not-for-profit? Is that what you're saying?
That's,
So depending upon whether you know you can go to the Boys and Girls Club and what their sliding scale is, you can either have a free camp or a subsidized camp or whatever. Can you send us whatever the Boys and Girls Club rules are? Because obviously, if we're providing all the money for that.
I will
We have
find
an
out, I will find
obligation to
out what the
know.
boys are, and again, Paul, just to let you know, this is something that came under us this year. Prior to this was under Youth and Family Services, so, you know,
No, I'm just. yeah,
I'm getting
just trying to
familiarized with it
get our-
myself, but I will give you the breakdown, I will find out from the Boys and Girls Club what the fee is associated with what they're charging, I will get that whole breakdown to you guys.
Mr. Joyce?
No questions.
Okay. Anybody else?
Mr. Signoracci.
Mr.
got
Signoracci's
everybody?
got his hand up.
Mr. Signoracci?
Johnny, I love you.
Thanks, Ralph.
I love you.
I love you too.
Two quick questions. The utility charges, and this is probably for Sean, that are there for the 55,000 on page 175. What buildings are they for? Is that for Lawson's Lake? Is that for the hockey facility? Is that for
I think it's for multiple. I can get you the total.
the breakdown, if you can? And then also, up at Lawson's Lake.
Electric and gas, right?
What's that?
Both electric and gas? Is that
Yes,
the one?
please.
Yeah.
Lawson's Lake. I'm sure that everybody probably said 5 years ago we should have sold the lake, but anyway. Dealing with the algae bloom and everything, is that something that can be treated so that the water can be used? Is that like a long-term?
I know that there's been a discussion about that, Ralph. I don't know the specifics, so I really couldn't give them to you tonight. I know there has been discussion about that.
Chlorine.
I know what we do at Buckingham Pond, we put 3 aerators in, we got 3 fountains going, and it seems to be working, so
Yeah.
maybe you might look at doing something like that.
Or
Good
something that
suggestion,
you
Mr. Chairman.
you can wind up putting before the legislature to help with that?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I just.
Mr. Grimm?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our homeowner association had a heck of a problem with their pond. We looked at the fountains, but they have to be installed and then taken out and taken back.
Yes, yes.
There's a lot of options out there in terms of chemical treatments and whatnot that can really help clean the water, but it's a challenge.
Yeah,
It's a
we've tried it
challenge.
It is. Are there any other questions?
Oh, yeah, no, I'm-
I just want to
Ms.
ask
McKnight.
a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Albany City's youth program on Earlwood Street is still sitting there. We don't use that for anything for the county, do we? It's a city facility. We used to be a part of that.
Yeah.
So we can't use it even for a drop-off station for the kids that doesn't want to do.
We'd have to talk to the city of Albany.
Are we talking to them? We try to talk to them, it costs us money.
Are there other questions?
In closing,
Thank you,
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Commissioner.
In closing, Mr. Chairman, I want to thank you. I want to thank the county executive, the sheriff, the minority leader, majority leader, the chairman, and the entire county legislature. We've done a real good job in this first year, even though you guys have worked me over pretty good this evening. I want to thank you guys, and I will get you all the answers to your questions. I will assure you that.
Can't wait.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks,
Appreciate it.
John.
Have a great night.
Next up is Water Purification District, Tim. Page 289.
Ready, Tim? It's gonna be like that for you.
Yeah, really.
I might just go home if it starts out like that.
Any, Commissioner, want to make an open statement? You want to
Yes,
take
good evening,
questions?
sir. I feel the county executive's budget for the water purification district is a fair and accurate forecast for the district's needs for 2018. So I'm open for
Any
questions.
questions? Mr. Higgins?
Are we on the federal settlement with the combined water sewer overflows into the city with the other river communities? Are we in year 2 of that?
We're much further than that. It's been going on for a number of years, and as far as the long-term control plan, it is a long-term control plan. And really, the district is acting as an advisory capacity to the 6 member communities, 4 of which are Albany County communities: Albany, Green Island, Waterville, and Cohoes.
We're not on the hook for any of those sewer discharges after the fact, right, for the notifications to the DEC?
The district?
Yeah.
No.
No, okay.
Are there any questions? Mr. Bullock?
On the anaerobic digester, I gotta ask you, how far along is the study? What are the potentiality costs to the sewer district? And, what's the benefits?
what are the benefits? Well, the district conducted two studies to begin with, okay? One was a pilot study that was conducted at our South Wastewater Treatment Facility, which looked at closing down 2 incinerators and creating an anaerobic digester at that facility. That really was not feasible. It was approximately $19 million, and it would have taken about a 39-year payback. So what we did was we looked at the consolidation of our operation for the 2 treatment plants, which would allow us to then shut down 4 incinerators and bring the biosolid waste from the south plant to the north plant and process it all in one location, which is more productive to begin with. We looked at that, and of course the cost grew to about $26 million estimate, but it had approximately a 13-year payback. The board...
And we got a study coming out back on this, right?
Yes.
With Saratoga County. So Doug, why don't we wait for the study to come back? You'll have all your answers there in detail, and I mean, because, yeah, I mean, it's,
We
you know,
figure that...
keep it to the budget, and...
Yes, the study the chairman is speaking to should be out in the next few months.
There you go. Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank
Have
you.
a good evening. Oh, Sean, something for you. In the table of contents, please note it's not the sewer district, it's the water purification.
Will do.
Just make that change and we're good.
Critical change.
Cornell. Where's Lisa? Big Red. Hello. Thank you for coming.
Yes, of course. So I don't know where to begin. The requested line items.
Page 256.
What Cornell requested was not contained within the budget. Therefore, the numbers in the proposed are not in there as well. Sean has sent an amendment in.
I believe you should have gotten her actual request, the adjustment to the,
All right.
Okay.
We'll review it.
So in addition to the request for increase in a few dollars to cover some staffing, we also asked for 2% cost of living on county share, as we have in the past years. Additionally, weatherization, as you know, is no longer administered by Albany County, and therefore those line items should be removed, and the rental value stays the same.
Are there any questions? No questions? Mr. Higgins?
I guess I'm a little confused because I don't have the amendment. What was the issue?
Here, I actually
That-
have what you...
So originally, what should have been requested in the proposed here by the department was an extra $75,000 roughly to the county share.
Is that the difference between the 755 and the 831?
Yeah, 75,000 in services, yeah.
And you'll have a breakdown of that coming to our office?
Yes, it's been turned in, yep.
We'll have that for you, Chris, on the 15th.
What happened?
Or before. Are there any other questions?
2% increase.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you,
Thank you.
appreciate it.
I think it's listed here.
Stormwater. Nancy, thank you for waiting. Page 284.
Okay, this concerns the Stormwater Coalition budget, and what you see in the county executive's budget is basically accurate. However, right after this budget came out, there were some hiring opportunities for the coalition, so there was an interest in maybe changing some of the budget lines. There's also the 2% raise that came in. The coalition makes decisions at the board level. We have a coalition board that met October 26, dealt with potential changes related to hiring. We made some job offers. One took it, one didn't. At the end of the day, there's slight revisions to this budget, not a whole lot. Sean Thielen here sent a memo to your office on October 30 explaining the budget changes. I can go through those if you're interested. It's on page 284, or just hope that you read the memo and understand what the adjustments are.
Are there any questions? So those 2 grant positions are in here?
Ultimately, yeah,
The
the
ones we
2
just-
grant positions, and then there's adjustment in one of the salary lines from 44,000 to 40,000 because the new hire doesn't have the same experience as the current person who's grant funded. So we made that change and then moved the difference to other budget lines. And then 2% raise for the non-union employee also that hadn't been in the budget. So, any questions?
Make sure we got that, Sean.
Yeah, I have it here.
Make sure Pat gets that.
Definitely.
Are there any questions? Mr. Grimm?
Yeah, just to be clear, you said, if I was reading something else we were talking about, what is the reason for beyond 2% from the technical assistant, technician assistants?
Yeah, so that budget line, actually, we're not going to hire in that line. We thought we might be hiring, but but at the time we put this budget out, we just didn't know if the person would accept, we didn't know what salary they would take. The person we thought we were going to hire did not take the job, therefore we don't need that line, so we don't need to consider the 2% increase. The 2% increase applies to the Stormwater Program Coordinator salary line. That was never budgeted with 2% increase when we put out this original budget, so we needed to adjust that. The thing to keep in mind here is the coalition is funded through dues, split out among 12 members. So we don't have, the coalition board makes their dues decision usually like in June, sometimes in September. We're locked into that dues amount, so we don't have a lot of flexibility once that membership dues component is put in. So there's some wiggling around just because of that reality of how the coalition is funded.
Are there any questions? Mr. Ward, Chairman Ward.
Congratulate Nancy and the coalition. They were recently named as one of the top shared service initiatives in the capital region. And Ms. McKnight and I would probably like to share the Capital District Regional Planning Commission named them with the Erastus Corning Shared Service Achievement Award recently.
This is true.
Nancy.
Erastus Corning.
Led that
Just to add to that, I really mean this, but the county has served as host of the coalition for close to 10 years now. It's a very integral role, it's a very complicated role. The staff have been great. Often very unusual problems come up from budgeting, staffing, any number of problems. And to the county's credit, I think they've really been a very good partner and a good host of the coalition. Great.
Are all the members here, do they pay an equal share or based on population?
No, it's based on population, amount of impervious surface, type of municipality. Yeah, basically it's broken out that way.
Are there any other questions? Thank you.
Okay, great, thank you.
Next up, Soil and Water, Susan. Thank you for waiting. Page 191.
Good evening. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Are there any questions from the members, committee? Any questions? Thank you for waiting, we appreciate it.
No problem.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Grimm?
You talk about hydroseeding here, 4 miles of road banks in town of Gilliland.
Yes.
How do you decide what to hydroseed, and do you have like a plan overall for doing this?
We're open to anyone who contacts us. It's been kind of slow to get started. We had a water quality improvement program grant through DEC to purchase the hydroseeder. So that grant also covers the cost of materials. So we are advertising it to all the municipalities that we can do all road bank programs with them. We've done some with, I think we've worked with 5 municipalities so far, including the County Highway Department last year.
Is there a chargeback for these services?
Nope, it would be in kind, just for their time to haul the machine to the site and to have a flagman on site to keep my staff safe.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you for waiting. Civic Center, Bob Albert, page 89.
Who's against that?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to, first of all, start by opening remarks by saying thank you to all the legislative members the county executive, and to Sean Ward and Frank Misso, the majority leader, as well as all of the legislators here and throughout the legislature for the support of the arena. I mean, in particular, the approval of the capital plan in the past and as we go forward. But the new renovations to the atrium at the Civic Center are just about done. They'll be done in about a week. And the sidewalks will be poured within the next week or so. And the Jersey barricade will be out, the lifts will be out. And thank God, after a year and a half, Lucy's right. You know, it's been tough for residents to get around. It's been tough for us to book shows, you know, knowing that the construction's going on. And so we're happy that the construction's going to be done soon. And I do want to say that Gil Bain Construction, which has been our construction manager, has done a phenomenal job in working around events that we've had coming in, getting the work done, and really a thank you to the fans for coming to the facility while we were in this construction mode.
Mr. Higgins.
What's the plan with the switch with the hotel occupancy tax now? You know, we're going to lose a big chunk of money. Had a lot of discussion about it. From the operational side, it doesn't really affect you, right? It's going to affect us on our debt service. Do we have a plan for that?
Well, we saw the first of it this year as we've tried
it's a big kicking and you know what.
It's been, you know, it has been a tough year, and it was very tight to get us to where we were, to where this book is and this plan is now, so.
I mean, how are we going to handle it in the future?
Well, I would hope that we could possibly try to leverage and get some of that back personally as a budget commissioner, because
I guess I'm asking, are you going to try to do that next year when the hot tax expires?
That'd be our opportunity that'd be a policy position, not Sean's, ours, and that'll be something we'll be dealing with next year. And it's on the top of the list of a lot of us in this room. So
Probably a discussion between county and state, I would think, for that purpose.
It's important. It's 2.6 million this year. And Albany paid, you know, so we'll talk about it and work with our elected officials at the state level to do what's right, do what's fair for the Albany County taxpayers too. Any other questions? Mr. Grimm?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. How do you anticipate a budget when you have teams coming and going, and sometimes they're good and sometimes they're not? How do you manage that?
It's quite a process. As you could see in the opening paragraph on this page, we were hoping to get a team confirmed. We have gotten a team back contracted with us. The arena football at the top level of the AFL is going to be a fantastic team to bring back. And the people that are running it, and certainly the local team that's going to be part owning it with George Hurst and Dan Nolan and Ed Swire.
You forgot the most important guy.
Who's that?
Ron Jaworski.
Ron Jaworski and Dick Vermeil. And those guys are quite characters, but this was a pretty creative deal that we put together. And so it's not just the local group that's going to own the team. It'll be the Philadelphia owners that will also own a piece of the Albany team. And the Albany group will also own a piece of the Philadelphia team. And down the road, there could very well be some input and ownership with the New Jersey Devils owners and a possible third team that could go into Newark. So this is great for us. We've got about $81,000 net in the budget that we expect to generate from the football team in operating it. I think that's probably conservative. I think we should beat that. But you know, the answer to that is we don't expect to have teams going all the time, and certainly the hockey team after 19 years of being here.
Will they fill up a lot of those dates, the arena football?
We already have.
Good.
We've already filled a lot of the hockey dates that otherwise would have been empty with a lot of family shows. And if we look forward at some of the future, for example, the family shows that we're bringing in the 18 budget, we have 28 performances of family shows. In 17, we have 15 performances. So there's a lot of family shows that are taking in those weekend dates, and quite a few more concerts are on the book for 2018.
great. That's
Not
great.
having those weekends available with the hockey team was tough in getting those events.
Mr. Kraus?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. How long have we been without the arena football franchises?
I want to say they left approximately in 2001 or
There were a
thereabouts.
variety of reasons they left.
Yeah, actually, they didn't leave just because of Albany or its operation here in Albany. The last team that was here was within the AF2 league, and the AF2 league was wholly owned by the AFL, and the AFL disbanded the entire league. So teams in Wilkes-Barre and Manchester and Worcester, all throughout the Northeast, as well as other parts of the country, folded all at the same time. The AF2 didn't work. The people knew the difference. You know, the fans know the difference in somebody that is trying to make it up to the NFL. And the AFL is the only way, if they haven't been drafted, for them to be able to still get up to the NFL. And if you look at some of the success stories of guys like Kurt Warner, and they started in the AFL, made it as superstars in the NFL. A lot of the guys now that are going to be playing in Albany are going to be really talented people that potentially, you know, a year or two after they've been playing here, could go up to the NFL and play on any team.
So you believe the business plan is a positive one and will result in a successful effort here at all?
I do, and a lot of it has relationship to the bargaining agreement with the Players Association. That's what really caused the AFL Firebirds to leave. The union contract caused the per game, per player fees back in 1999 to go from $500 a game to as high as $3,500 a game. And they just couldn't sustain it with the number of players and so forth. But that bargaining agreement has been renegotiated, and now that cost is going down from $3,500 to about $900 a game. And now it's back to affordable.
Are there any other questions?
Thank you.
Mr. Joyce?
Following up on his questions, I see the season tickets went on sale about 3-4 weeks ago. Have we gotten any feedback from the team or the league on how they're doing?
We have. Actually, in the first 3 days, they sold over 500 season tickets.
Great. Wow.
And it's been tremendous. Everybody on the street is talking about this team coming back, and I think a lot of it has to do with those of us that remember the Firebirds and how exciting it was with the block parties and so forth.
Touchdown Eddie Brown.
Touchdown Eddie Brown.
You know, everybody remembers him.
And now with the exciting new video boards on the face of the arena on South Pearl, and the block party atmosphere is going to be even that much more exciting. So I can't wait to have it come back. We'll start in early April.
Very exciting.
Thanks for bringing it back, Bob.
Mr. Bullock?
On professional basketball, you used to get the Nets and the other professional teams up here for a game. You're not doing that anymore? They don't want to show?
We're working on that now for next year, for October of next year for a preseason NBA game.
Are you in competition with the Armory on these professional?
Not at all. No, the patroons that are at the Armory, we wish them the best.
Okay.
It's a totally different league. And we won't have a professional basketball team here. It just doesn't make sense currently in the leagues that are available out there. The attendance right now, it's perfect at the Armory, the size of the Armory, but it would fail at the arena because of the higher costs, and you know, and I think that's what happened the last time.
Mr. Bergdorf?
Maybe you could save us all a click on the website. How many home games are they gonna have? And
Sure.
what is where does the pricing start for a season ticket?
Sure. So the number of home games is 8 plus playoffs, and Arena Bowl would be about the second week in August. Season tickets start at about $125 and can go up to, you know, as high as $700-800 for close to the Dashers.
Okay, so for the 8 games.
For the 8 games, and I think that includes one playoff game.
Playoffs.
Are there any other questions?
Yes.
Mr. Grimm?
Thank you, Mr. Mullins. Just to be clear how we make money on teams. We charge them rent, you know, for the building.
Yep.
Is the rent affected by how many people they put in the building?
No, it's not based on a percentage of
So
ticket sales.
they're taking the risk then in terms of drawing people, because they're paying a set rent?
Correct. We have enough rent coming in from them on a per game basis to cover our costs and make money and without having any risk. And then we also have our food and beverage and other
We get a
ticketing
piece of
fees.
concession, so if there's more attendance, we get a higher
Absolutely,
concession.
absolutely.
There's also a ticket tax, is there a tax on the tickets?
There's no tax on the ticket, well, there's sales tax on the ticket, which.
I thought there used to, wasn't there a ticket tax I remember when I had Sienna
There's a
tickets,
service
they
charge.
charged me an extra buck because of the TU center.
There's no service charge for buying tickets at the box office. That still is that sacred spot where you can buy a ticket and not have a service charge. But if you buy online or through Ticketmaster phone by charge, there is a service charge on those, which, by the way, the county receives a sizable amount of that service charge.
I thought there was an extra $1 on the ticket the county imposed. That's not the case?
No, we have a facility fee.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the facility fee is on there for $1 per ticket.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Because if you sell more tickets, you get more facility fee money.
Correct, yeah, but that doesn't go into the operation. That's for a capital
Now, can we
improvement.
add an extra $1 for out-of-county residents?
No.
Can we look into that?
I think we had this discussion 20
I think
years
we
ago.
have. Sure. Any other questions? Oh, Pat.
Sean,
Yes, sir.
the hotel motel tax amount that we're going to get next year, is that going to cover the debt service at the Civic Center that currently exists?
You have to give you a specific breakdown. I'll see. It's going to be close.
So I guess my question is there going to be any impact on the budget for a shortfall?
It's going to be close.
Can I get that number?
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
definitely.
Are we doing any free parking down there in conjunction with the Civic Center, the Convention Center?
No free parking.
No free parking?
The only way that we'll do free parking is if the producer of whatever event buys out the garage and pays a fee.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions? Thank you, sir, for coming.
Thank
Have
you.
a good evening. Thank you for waiting.
Thanks, Bob.
Next one up is Veterans. Mr. Good, there he is.
Now, what is this? What are they going to be called?
South Bend native.
How you doing?
I haven't seen you in a while. It's Jim Brown.
That's right. That's right. Thank you for waiting.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it. Page 194, if there's any questions, or would you like to make an opening statement? Whatever you want to do. You got the floor.
I'd just like to thank the legislation for supporting our program.
Are there any questions? Thank you very much. Have a good evening. Thanks for waiting.
Good, have a good night.
Civic Center, John, you're civil service. You're clean up, man. You're clean up, you're back
How'd
clean
you
up.
go first, John?
I'm glad I didn't follow.
91, page 91.
I'm glad.
Oh, you're going to have this one.
I'm glad I didn't have to follow arena football. That sounds a lot more exciting.
You might not get this.
Well, anyway, want to thank Mr. Chairman and the members for accommodating our schedule. And we always appreciate your support, everyone's support. This is Hannah Rothenberg Black. She's one of my right hands. I have two right arms and no left one, but they're really good people. Work hard every day. So there's not, again, we're not the arena. We're not exciting, but we're kind of important in the sense that we're legally required, and we try to do the best job we can. And our budget doesn't change much, but for many years now, we've taken care of not only county departments, but most of the jurisdictions in Albany County, with the exception of the City of Albany, Waterville, Cohoes, Town of Colony, but we take care of BOCES, most of the libraries, the towns, the villages, county departments. So we have 65-plus jurisdictions that we do civil service for. So I guess in one sense you could say that we've been, not any of my doing, but we've been on the consolidation, regionalization for many years now, providing services to all over Albany County. So I'm glad to, Mr. Chairman, any questions you or any of your members or other people have.
Mr. Kraus.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, John, probably have asked you this before, but the Director of Civil Service position for $30,000, is that a part-time position?
It is a part-time position.
Part-time position.
But since Hannah has to say, because she's sitting right next to me, she'll probably tell you that I'm here more than part-time, but...
I think that's the case for those types of positions.
No, but in
Always more than-
all honesty, it's a part-time position, and because I came back into government service as retired from the city of Albany after 35 years, it's the maximum I can make. The salary was here before I got here, but...
It's acceptable.
What's that, sir?
It's acceptable to you.
Well, it's absolutely acceptable, and I appreciate it. And like I said, I'm kidding Hannah a little bit, but she knows I'm here every day, almost every day. Not all day, but I'm here. I'm here most of the time.
And we appreciate you're willing to do it for
Yeah.
them. But realistically speaking,
Yeah.
if we had to pay a fair rate for that position, what would you anticipate that would be?
Well, in all honesty, in some cases, we've looked at it before. In some cases, across the state, the position is actually covered under HR. We're actually a separate department. There may be a staff within HR. So it's hard to say. You know, you may have somebody making a lot more money, particularly if it's full-time. But I also have to say that they saw to it that with these 65 jurisdictions that we have, that they said, you know, we really think it's a good idea if you take some of your own, you know, and kind of see what we go through. So I'm not just, you know, waving a wand or a lightsaber and doing things like this. I'm actually the town of Guilderland, Byrne and Knox and, you know, New Scotland, town of New Scotland, like that. I actually take them on like a personnel technician like Hannah is. And of course I run down the hall once in a while, or maybe more than once in a while, and they ask them like, how do I do this or how do I do that? But so
You're fine, this isn't a job interview, so what else has to be
I'm not really answering your question.
Thank you, John. We all love you down there.
I'm not really
Mr.
answering
Grimm.
the question,
Thank
but
you. No, your office sends me when you have new posting announcements. I really appreciate that. I share it with all my social media,
Yeah,
and I get good
yeah.
feedback on that. People appreciate knowing what jobs are out there, and I recommend everyone do that. It's really helpful.
Yeah.
Thank
yeah.
you.
Well, the more the merrier as far
There
as
you
we're
go.
concerned.
Anybody else? Just like
Did you
before we
send a
leave,
copy of that to the personnel committee and Mr. Ward's office too, with all the jobs he's posted and is available?
Well, Hannah sent, we put it on.
Just an email. Yeah, I get them every time they come out.
Yes, it's sent to everyone with a county address.
You're not getting those, we can put Lucy on the list, John, will you?
Well, let me just add that in some cases, a few people have county email addresses, so I don't know how often you check your county email addresses.
Never.
But if anybody ever if anybody like Mr. Grimm.
Yes, Mr. Grimm provided us with his personal.
Anybody has a personal email address, we always make sure that they go out to that personal.
Just make sure anybody who's on our website, legislative website, use their email and send it to them on that. If they're not on that, it's on them. Before we leave, I'd just like to recognize Vicky, who won last night, being new legislator starting in January. So welcome. This is just, don't let this discourage you. It's not all like this. Are there any questions for the commissioner? Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Thank you, Mr.
it.
Chairman.
Motion adjourned.